Hi, everyone. This is Raquel.
Hi, and this is Jennifer.
Welcome to Madness Cafe.
This is a feminist podcast where we talk about women's issues, politics, and health and wellness.
And where those issues intersect. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Madness Cafe. Today, Jennifer and I are joined by two guests. We are not using their real names. They are going to go by Midge and Cupcake. The reason why they're not using their real names is to protect their safety. And that is because they both work with an organization called MichCapeCats Clinic Escorts. So what they do is they provide safe access and a choice-affirming environment for Metro Detroit clinics that provide abortion care. So they help to escort people into the clinic for the care that they need, and to help protect them from what we've all seen is people standing outside these clinics and causing a ruckus and making things dangerous and unsafe for the people trying to access abortion care. So Midge and Cupcake, thank you so much for being here with us. And we are so excited to hear what you have to say and to learn more about MichCapeCats.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you so much for having us. This is such a wonderful opportunity just to really talk about what really goes on in front of clinics that sometimes I think people can be very confused about. Mm-hmm. What's going on. And especially with the way that climate is right now since May and June.
Well, the first thing I want to say is that and I know Raquel does too, we believe that you and all of the people that work with you are heroes. Mm-hmm. So just a little hashtag clinic escorts are heroes.
All right.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Love it.
I know that sometimes you go by the name abortion defenders. How did you both kind of get introduced into this world and get on board with helping people defend their right?
It's been just the political aspect that it is, just, our anti-life, the way that they attack patients, like it's just always been a concern of mine. And I had actually, the clinic where I work at now, I was a patient there for my yearly gynecological exams. And I had noticed, just going for my appointments, that there'd be some casual signage up, just beware of protesters, watch on your way in and way out. If anything makes you uncomfortable, report it. I had always noticed that. And when 2016 election happened, I was on my way to an appointment that year, and I was wondering how much, if any protester activity had increased. And going into that office, there was so much more signage, and just the wording of it just seemed that it had become more of a thing. So at that appointment, I was like, is there anything that I can do to help out? And they're like, yeah, we have an escort group. They're like, we would be happy to give you the contact information for them. It was 4 or 5 years ago, and I've been a part of it ever since.
Wow. Midge, what about you? How did you get started?
This is a issue that's always been very important for me, women's and girls' health, about them being human rights. And I actually had a neighbor whose daughter was mentioning what she was doing that weekend. And I was very interested because parenthood had always been involved with women's health, and it's so necessary, but I was tired of just writing checks. It's really what I felt is all that they were asking for me. And so to learn that I could do something so hands-on, and I was appalled when I first pulled up and saw the work that was being done there. I was just appalled at the vitriol and towards women. There are some people who are perhaps a little bit sincere in their idea that perhaps they honestly believe they're saving a baby, but it is so far beyond that, because the misogyny is terrible, is absolutely terrible. And so it's so necessary to try to help these women and girls who are just trying to go to the doctors. It's all they're trying to do. And they have to push their way past these people who have guns, who are ready.
Guns.
Oh, yes,
God.
yes. They are
Oh,
armed.
yeah.
AK-47s, to bring an AK-47 to
God.
a clinic. They're ready to be a murderer. They're ready for attention. It's terrible. So to have our own little part in trying to help these people, it's just,
Wow.
it felt good to do something a little practical.
And what I really like the most out of our group is that we not engage with us apart from other groups that do similar. It's first and foremost, we are there for our patients to make them feel comfortable, to make them feel safe, to get them inside, to know that they are cared for. I mean, at this point, arguing about these things with somebody is not going to change anything. Arguing with
Right.
somebody outside of a clinic is clearly not going to change anything. And
Right.
I feel like I would have a more productive conversation with the brick wall that is beside me first and foremost.
Right.
And there is something that is just so empowering about just standing up in silence against it and just stone face, like you're, whatever names you are calling me to try to get my attention, like it's not going to work. Like, I'm here for these patients, like you're a jerk, and I'm not going to stand for it by standing for it.
Right. So you all are essentially, I mean, y'all are a buffer for the patients that are coming into the
Yep.
clinic, whether
Yep.
it's for
Yep.
just general health care or anything, reproductive rights, whatever. I mean, women just going to get health screenings, and you
Correct.
all are
Yes.
a buffer for them. That has got to be so incredibly, I mean, you mentioned Cupcake, that yes, it's empowering, and I get that. God knows that sounds so amazing, and I'm amazed by both of you for doing this work. But y'all are human. It's got to get difficult at times. What do you do to sort of debrief in between, or to recharge, or how do you, what do you do either in between shifts or in between patients?
We are like the biggest self-care queens ever. And I think it's just supporting each other to make sure that we know get a good sleeper. It's just grabbing a really good snack on the way home, going home and taking a nap. I awesomely have a really great nature park nearby to the clinic where I go to afterwards and feed squirrels for like an hour. And we're really supportive that we watch each other while we are out doing what we do. If somebody that it seems like getting excessively picked on, if it's something that they're getting on a topic that somebody is really sensitive about, okay, you take a break. We have like the little Catholic corner where people are typically a little bit more quiet, where they're the ones that just show up and pray. Sometimes they have nasty signage, but usually they're pretty quiet and don't like to engage. So somebody can go watch Catholic corner if they don't want to listen to the mouthy ones. You can go stand by the door and just say hi to people, hold the door for them. So it's just really keeping an eye on each other to make sure that we're okay while we're out there.
Okay.
I just wanted to add that it can be extremely stressful, and it can be extremely hurtful. When there's no patients, or even sometimes when there are patients, they'll pick on you, and there's nothing out of bounds. The color of your skin, your body shape, they've got plenty to say about what you wear, about the way you move your hands, the way that and I mean, really, it's when sometimes I feel like they're bored. But the truth is that they're so unrelenting. If you can follow me, it often becomes noise. They rant and they rave, and they say their own wildly exclusive version of Bible quotes, and they repeat themselves. And so honestly, sometimes it is just noise. It isn't that we stand there hour after hour, week after week saying, oh, there's so much I could say. Oh, there's so much I could do right now, because it does sometimes become a little yada, yada. And it does help to have a sense of humor. I mean, talk about conspiracy theories, talk about wackadoodles. We do have some people who are sincere. We do have some people who are extreme wackadoodles, and some of the most hilarious euphemisms for sex or for women's parts that you've ever heard of in your life. So it does help. We have lots of private jokes between us. We have lots of, it does help. It is such a good community that we understand what we've been through, but it does feel like a war sometimes. It does feel hard, and it's hard to when you've been really screamed at and insulted for 4 or 5 hours. You got to go home and lose that, because you can't take that with you.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's like we're out there on like the hottest days in the summer, the coldest
Frigid
days in the
days,
winter. And it's
yeah.
just like, you're just enduring this relentless trash coming out of people's mouths.
Because you have to protect you have to protect the 12-year-old who's in there.
Ooh.
A few weeks ago, we had an extremely young girl, not even really a teenager, and she was there, and she was followed by some detectives from Illinois. She was a rape victim, and the detectives explained to me, we had been expecting them. They were coming. They had all of this, evidence boxes, and he was saying he was there to collect what he called the products of conception. And he said to me, I can't believe this is my job now. He said, this is not the first time I've had to do this, that I've had to chase somebody down into another state. And it was just dreadful, because she was as exposed to the antis, to the protesters, as anyone else was. And they were saying terrible things to this person who we can't even imagine. So sometimes it's very, very difficult.
Yeah.
So not only was this poor girl raped, and she's having to deal with that trauma, but then she has to travel out of state to get an abortion, and then she's got to deal with people yelling at her as she's trying to basically just take care of herself. It's wretched.
It's wretched.
Really.
It's wretched,
Yeah.
right? So I guess I just hope that my own little bit, if I can put an umbrella by her window to try to shield her identity, or we play music, very loud music, hoping it drowns out a little bit of their nonsense. Is
well, I hope this sweet girl, and anybody else who is being protected by y'all, I hope that they get some solace out of y'all being there.
Yeah, it's nice when we do get the thank yous from people, and even it's hard sometimes. I know usually those types of situations are the ones that are hardest for me to try to endure and just be silent during. And I feel like I'm usually pretty good. It's like they can say whatever they want to me. Like usually whatever they try to say to me is just so off base.
Right. There's that.
And I don't care. There's been other situations too where it's been a rape conception, and it's dudes out there trying to mansplain rape to a woman. And it's just, that's when I'm
How
just
can
like,
a man mansplain rape? How are they making?
It's like, how do men mansplain anything? But
Well,
it's not the child's fault.
Right.
It's further violence doesn't.
Sort of two wrongs don't make a right. Is sort of their weird logic. And
It's not that child's fault. The
This is,
child doesn't have a choice in this matter, which is the grossest thing that you can ever say in that type of situation.
Right. Well, I'm really curious about, what does a day in the life of an abortion defender look like? Do you have a set schedule? Do you show up? Do you have a format that you do? Like, what does it look like for you guys?
We have a sign-up sheet, and typically it's having at least 2 people to open. Nobody is there by themselves at any time ever.
That's good.
For safety reasons.
Good.
And usually we have those 2 people, the leads, and we actually have to wear GoPros to record them for safety reasons. We have forms that we fill out to try to track people, any strange activity outside of the norm we note, and then usually whatever, as many as recruits as we can to try to have out there too, especially for the days when we sort of try to keep track on, like, there's 2 times a year, like there's one during Lent and in the fall where they do 40 Days for Life. The one lines up with Lent, and then they just randomly do another one. So And sometimes there's like traveling circuses that come through where they just all meet up and go together in like, seriously, we call it like a fetus mobile, where they have these buses and these campers with their crappy signage, and they just go
drag their
on
kids,
like
they
a
bring
tour.
their kids, they
Wow.
They go on a tour in certain areas of, or if there's certain ones in certain areas, like Michigan's pretty heavily protested. There's some ones in like Mississippi that they do, people down south, and they all know each other. They'll meet up and they'll tour and they'll hit up each of each other's clinics and just do like a summer of this where they travel and just harass people.
When you were talking about like a typical day, as Cups was saying, we try to beat the antis there. We try to get there before they do. They do come pretty early, so we try to come even earlier. We only go, we do, this clinic we're at does have armed guards, so we only go when the days when the guards are there. We do have a bunch of paperwork to fill out. We have some housekeeping things to do. We set up a few signs indicating which way to turn and asking the patients not to stop for protesters. We have positions that we man. There's certain areas of the clinic that, physically that we need to be there. People need to be in the sidewalk. Some people need to work the parking lot, which was actually talking to the patients. And those of us who have more experience are the ones who help set up, or we're the ones who perhaps speak to the patients, and those who are still learning more stand guard to physically escort people in or out. And there's always paperwork to do. There's always, just like everything else, is who is there, what happened, did anything unusual happen, who showed up. We make sure that we have photos of every single anti who shows up every day. We label the photos, and we have the GoPros that we turn on periodically away from the patients, never in front of the patients. But when incidents happen, we need to go. It's not unusual for the police to be called. Sometimes by a patient, sometimes by us, sometimes by them, if they got to whine about something because someone gave them a hangnail.
Right. Yeah. So what kind of training do y'all go through before you start?
We actually have set up a very beautiful training, and mostly it's what to expect. And we have some of our GoPro footage from the worst days there of just somebody just wailing insults on somebody. So just to, give somebody an idea of what to expect. And usually how to dress is like a big thing too, to wear comfy shoes, bring your snacks, stay hydrated. And we also too think of a nickname that you would like to be called, or we'll come up with one for you. Lock down your social media. We had for a while, when I first started, the protesters would try to dox us. They sent things to people's kids' schools, workplaces, flyer neighborhoods, send you like
talk to your relatives,
send you things in the mail, sign you up on like their mailing list to send you, and they have horrific signage and pamphlets. We call it fetal porn. So they'll send you fetal porn in the mail.
Right. So when you say lock down your social media, like, do you then not participate in social media anymore, or you just don't
make
talk
sure
about
that you set your posts to friends only? And maybe even I've never included my last name on my social media, like period, just for safety reasons, because people are weird. So it just lined up with me that I had that all in place. But yeah, things like that. And two, if you have a lot of friends that might be interested in helping out, it's okay to kind of post us on social media. But other than that, maybe like the escorting stuff, like keep it private, don't post about it, don't talk about it like as much. And we usually check with everybody too, with me doing like our social media, and I try to promote it a little bit more to make sure everybody is comfortable if they're included in a photo that we do. Like sometimes we'll take pictures of, like, if a patient brings us like coffee or donuts, we'll take a picture, post it on our media, but we want to make sure that everybody is included, that they're okay with being associated with the group and it being posted.
You were speaking, we got a little off. You were speaking about the training, and I just I think it's important to point out that we do active shooter trainings.
Mhm.
We do have a
Oh.
protocol. Absolutely. We have a protocol for that. What happens
yeah.
if this happens? What happens if this? We practice our escape routes. And we had somebody from the FBI come and discuss with us and walked us through. They, you know, they
Yeah.
surveyed the situation and said, you must do this. You've got to do this. You have to go here. You have to go there. So an awful lot of the training is about that, is about active shooter drills, and always the best way to keep the patient's privacy as much as we can.
Mhm.
Right.
When to walk and when to run.
Yeah. And
Right.
we actually had to change our dynamic. We didn't always have the person with the assault rifle show up. This all changed after him. Prior to that, it was like we were basically trying to help patients, and we were mostly running security at one point too. And then when the man started showing up with an assault rifle strapped to his back was when we kind of had to reformat our entire way that we do things.
Mhm. Is there some sort of a like screening process
Mhm.
for you all, so to make sure that
That we had
only
people try
only
to sneak in.
okay, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have to say though, it's mostly, we do some investigative background, but it is a lot
Okay.
of trusting friend of friends. Once somebody gets in and once
Okay.
somebody's been there for a long time, and I can vouch if they know that that if cops will vouch for them, or if this, you know, this person is Midge's good friend, and everybody still goes through the training, still goes through some screening, but
Right.
you know, we get people who are, fortunately, knock wood, so far they're pretty clumsy at it. They call us, oh gee, golly whiz, I just love abortion. Can I help with, you know? I mean, you know, I'm playing it up a little bit.
Hello,
but they're-
fellow humans.
Right? Yeah, they're a little, yeah. So it does happen.
Frightening.
Yeah.
With Roe being overturned, of course, we all know about that in, you know, June of this year, that Roe was overturned, and that now there are a lot of what are called zombie laws, right? Where, and for people who don't know, the zombie laws are laws that were on the books prior to Roe
Mhm.
that
Mhm.
that states kept on their books in hopes that Roe would get overturned. And so now that Roe has been overturned, these laws have come back, and basically they are criminalizing women's access to reproductive
Mhm.
health care. And the one in Michigan is from 1931.
Mhm.
And it is, well, apparently, thankfully, in September of this year, 2022, it was declared unconstitutional by the Michigan State Court, saying that it is facially unconstitutional because its enforcement would deprive pregnant women of their right to bodily integrity and autonomy and the equal protection of the law.
Right.
Unquote. Hopefully that stands and Michigan can remain a protected state for women trying to receive reproductive health care. But I'm wondering, have you all seen a change just since the overturning of Roe?
Oh, sure.
Mhm.
They are
Mhm.
galvanized. They are energized. They are galvanized. They are excited. They watch what's going on with the rest of the nation, and they listen to all of the politicians who are so encouraged by this new atmosphere and of fear and the hatred towards women, and they are ready and excited to act on this. If you look around, you see that with the election coming up now, with Proposal 3 on the Michigan state ballot to codify abortion as a constitutional right, if I'm not correct, and the fear that they have and the condensation, it's too extreme, it's too confusing, to which I always want to say to them, well, if it's so confusing, how do you know it's so extreme? But it's that's sort of besides the lies that they're putting around it. Complete lies about it. This 1931 law is antiquated and is frightening. It's just frightening. I think that there's a big burst of energy. Have you seen it? I've seen a big burst of energy.
Have you also seen an increase in women looking for care in states where it's no longer legal coming to your clinic?
Yes. Yes.
Lot-
Yes.
A lot of out of
yes.
state plates pulling up to our
Mhm.
clinic. As
And
we-
what happens, one of the rumors that I heard, and I don't know, I'm not there, so I don't know how true this is, but when they're coming from out of states, are they afraid that maybe people are taking pictures of them and their license plate is getting, like, that they could go back to their state and get prosecuted? Is that a fear?
Sure.
Yes, I don't think it's quite as much like, we've have kind of like a different crowd going on right now. The crowd when I first started definitely would have been all about doxing people and
One
trying to
second.
do these types of things. Now it seems that the crowd that we have luckily kind of scared off the people like that. And the two that we have, the assault rifle person, and then there's another one where it's just like he's a performance artist. So it's pretty much those two's own little weekly private little show going on. And I think they are too involved in themselves to really pay attention to that kind of stuff. Although we did have one of them at one time trying to take pictures of our license plates. And we noticed it when somebody had to leave early. And then we all just got like, I think paper from the printer in the clinic and just covered our license plates, and or we tried to go a different way out. And then after that, he realized that we caught on to him, and then he has never tried that again. But as far as usually, at least right now, it's been relegated to just calling them every name in the book as they, come in and out of the clinic.
And if people are coming from out of state, do they have to come for 2 visits or only 1 visit to the clinic?
It's usually only one that we,
Okay.
yeah, but they're there for the day. They're there
Right,
for the
they're- yeah.
day.
We don't, as far as actually what goes on in the clinic, we try to keep their privacy as much as possible. Sometimes the people are asking us for help. They say, do I need to do this? Do I need to do that? And we have to say to them, I can't help you with that. You're just going to have to ask inside. So, and as we said before, it is a women's health clinic. So they could be coming there for breast care. We don't know. Whatever it is. And there's nothing that you can get away with. The antis have an answer for that too. They say you shouldn't patronize this place. And if you, they're screaming at them. And if you say you're only going in there for this, there's other place. I don't, who knows? Just to get into it. I don't need to get into it.
So do they know that other types of healthcare are being provided there, or do they're just like, just throw it all out, just throw the baby out with your bad analogy, sorry, baby out with the bathwater? Do they literally just, they don't want the clinic to be open at all?
Yeah,
Correct.
I don't understand that.
Even if they admitted that somebody might be going in there for, not for a procedure, but for something else, their answer would be that you shouldn't be patronizing that place.
Yeah, shouldn't be patronizing it. And then also
Right.
that opens them up for like one of their birth control arguments as well.
Right.
Too. So it's like,
They're very anti-birth
Yeah.
control as well.
Yeah.
So
damned if you do, damned if you don't.
very anti gay agenda, say terrible things about gay people or trans people.
Yeah. We wear rainbow vests,
Right.
so we get that a lot.
And racist, anti-Semitic, just throw the whole thing in. Throw the whole thing in.
So on your Instagram, you have a quote that says, "We will proudly continue to stand against the hate disguised as Christian love to ensure that our patients feel safe and supported," which is awesome. Again, I'm going to call you heroes because I really, truly believe you are. Is the biggest base that comes pretending to be, I mean, I guess pretending is not the right word, but when I think Christian, I don't think people who stand out and scream obscenities at people. So
that would be a true Christian. And I awesomely, luckily know many of them that are the kindest people in the world. It seems that from what I gather, I think it's a lot of evangelicals.
Correct.
Quiverfuls.
There's
whatever like that sect is.
Yes, sects like the Quiverful movement, and some of them are literally on their own. They openly admit, I'm a preacher from my own whatever. This is not these are people who profess. They profess to follow the New Testament, but really talk a lot more like the Old Testament, because some of these things were very surprising. Jesus hates you. Jesus hates you.
Because Jesus is so full of hate.
I know,
I know.
right. And there's nothing
Yeah,
about
Jesus was a feminist.
nothing about charity, nothing about love, nothing about forgiveness,
course not.
nothing about non-judgment. We do have a
course not.
Catholic faction. We do have factions come from the Catholic Church, and what we could say about them is that they are quieter. Generally, they just pray. They are not generally aggressive. They generally do not say nasty things about you personally or anything like that. They generally just quietly pray, or sometimes say things like save the babies, or just, I mean, they end up being the good guys in our scale, almost because they are so unaggressive. But definitely we would say evangelicals. Yeah.
And I enjoy too, especially when they like spout like the Jesus hate. Like I was raised Catholic. So them trying to pull like little Bible stories and Bible quotes on me, my favorite one to think about is when they start that is when people were acting a fool outside of a church and Jesus cracked out a whip and started flipping tables. And I'm pretty sure he would crack them with a whip and flip their tables of random bloodied up baby parts that they set up outside of the clinic. Jesus would flip those over for sure.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
He would.
Plastic.
Baby dolls from like the dollar store that get spray painted.
Right.
Yeah. And
Is there ever a day when there aren't any protesters out front?
I think so. It's because there are some days that the clinics are more known, I believe, for procedures. And I think these people have day jobs, some of them. So they just, they get a phone call and then they have to up and leave because I don't know, their wife is making them go to Walmart or something like that for the day. We don't know. I think there are some days that are better than others. We're not there all day, every day. So we don't, we don't know. The security guards would probably have a better answer for that.
How long have there been armed security guards at the clinic? Do you know?
And that I am not quite sure, because I know that our clinic owner has been dealing with this her entire career. And I had a friend that grew up around the corner from the clinic too, that had just been seeing these kind of people just pulling their things on the sidewalk, like as long as they can. But as far as like the day-to-day having to have security and escorts out there, I'm not quite sure. I just know that we have been out there since 2016, very, very, very heavily and actively.
Wow.
When I first started, I used to go out on Wednesdays too. But again, that was when we had the more like diehard people that were, calling the clinic owner by her name if she was there, the people that were sending out things to kids' school, trying to find out the workers. They used to do twice a week, but since they've kind of cleared out and made way for our assault rifle and performance artist, they usually just come out on Saturdays.
We're just one of the many clinics in Michigan. There's many, many clinics that have these problems too. We actually do some work at another clinic in Detroit.
Yeah.
Some of us do that. And then there's many other clinics. There's other groups that have the defenders. There's a clinic. Sometimes the clinic owners don't want defenders. And so we just have to respect that and work with that. It does attract a lot of attention.
Why would they not want the defenders there?
This one I can't speak to personally about it. All that we've heard is the doctor is very, very concerned about image and wants to attract attention. I think believes this would be even less attention. And we stand out there in our rainbow vests, and we have passerbys all the time slow down and look at it. Like what is going on?
Yeah, because it is definitely a spectacle.
It is a spectacle with the antis waving their stuff around, and then us running around with our vests and the cars pulling in and out. I mean,
and which is another reason.
Gotta see what's going on.
Yeah. And another reason why I'm glad that we don't engage too, because that just, I feel like they're, I feel like the clinics that do engage and have their defenders there, that, there's a lot of heavy, like, I'm just thinking of TikTok in particular, when people like post their videos and that kind of behavior. I mean, it just, I feel like it just adds to the chaos. And even us not engaging, there are sometimes that our patients pull in and they don't know who we are.
Oh, we've had patients
And
who
even
are
with like head to
frightened.
toe
Yeah.
rainbows, umbrellas, and it's like we even go try to greet them and let them know, hey, you're okay, I'll take you in the clinic. And they're like, please get away from my car. And it's like, no, I work for the clinic. I'm
Right.
not with the little bozo clown group out there.
Right. We
Right.
approach them and you gauge their mood. Some people are just like, I can walk. What's of course I can walk into the building, right? And some people are
Right.
terrified. Sometimes there's a language barrier. That's
Mhm.
sad. There's a lot going on that we don't know about. In general, this is a pretty bad day for
Yeah.
these women, like
Yeah.
wherever they're
Right.
coming from. Sometimes they're with their partner, sometimes they're with a parent, sometimes they're with their friend. And we just try to talk to them. The ones who, who are most frightened, I always say to them that these people who are yelling at you, they know nothing about you. They don't know what happened to you last week. They don't know what you have to go home to. They don't know anything about you. This is noise. This man is nothing. And this
Right.
person is absolutely nothing. Let's walk.
At the
And-
top of the hour, you mentioned, I don't remember exactly what you said, but you said that misogyny plays a really big role in what's going on with the protesters.
Ooh.
How would you describe that, or how do you know that? What's the big giveaway?
That we should be at home making sandwiches for
That's what
our
they tell you?
husband.
Right.
Absolutely. And I dressed for comfort at the clinic. I get yelled at all the time about my whore pants and showing my birth canal and
Your birth
your
canal,
regular
yeah.
leggings that you buy anywhere.
Right.
They tell you that you're showing your birth canal?
Yeah,
They
right.
show
We're-
us
we're
that
not-
we're showing
Apparently
our
they
birth
don't
canal.
know
not
what
even
the
sure
birth
what that
canal
means.
is.
We're not even 100%
I
sure
haven't
what
even
that
seen my
means.
own birth canal.
I mean, but they the women have loose morals, and that they brought this on, and when you
Mhm.
and
When you're a
when
whore.
you dress like this, and then you want to
Mhm.
cry rape, and it's rape is so rare, and
Oh.
rape never really happens, and when you dress like this and you act this way, and when women are always whoring around, and then they end up in the situation and they cry rape, and there's a tremendous amount of that going on, a tremendous
see.
amount. So it's right out there. There's nothing.
Yeah, I'm not trying
It's
to.
nothing subtle
yeah,
about it.
no.
Yeah, there's nothing. Yeah.
This is way more stressful than I would have imagined.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
yeah.
Wow.
I'm having a hard time. I mean, just granted, I've not done any escort work, so I can't say how I would react, but just thinking of this right now and my reaction as you guys are talking about all this is I could see maybe holding my tongue for a little while, and then I think, something
Mhm.
probably not appropriate would come flying out of my mouth.
It's hard.
It's hard. It's not for everyone.
Yeah, it's not.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
so
We
what?
cycle through so many, and I know I feel bad sometimes where it's like, sometimes I just can't hold it anymore, and usually then it's like, all right, time to
walk
go
away.
take my break.
Right. It's
Okay.
time to walk away. It is,
Yeah,
and there's a
yeah.
learning curve. I've made oopsies. Just sometimes
Okay.
when you do feel like you're getting to that point where you're like, you know what, that's just it, and you get ironically you can't take it personally.
Mhm.
And everybody understands. It happens all the time. Like you just say, I'm going around to the side of the building because I just can't. I just can't anymore. But the silence, the refusing to speak with them
Mhm.
is actually surprisingly effective. I mean, if you were
Really?
if you were constantly trying to fight with somebody and they just wouldn't engage with you, it's frustrating for them, and they
Mhm.
move on. They just
Okay.
on and on and on. And we've had a few, I've had them say to me, I wish you would yell at me. Heck, I don't care if you want to say whatever you want to say to me. And
Because they want to. They want that
Sure,
engagement.
yeah,
to
especially because
stay.
we're no
Yeah.
fun. It's no
Yeah.
fun
Yeah.
when we just turn our back on them. That's boring.
Yep. There's
What's
definitely some people, it's like, that they are coming there looking
Ready.
for a fight.
Ready
and
for a
we
fight.
just,
Yeah.
we're not going to do it.
It's boring for them.
What's a oopsie look like? You said that you've made oopsies in the past. What would that look like?
I can definitely speak for, I know one oopsie in particular that I did, and it was my first day out there. My first couple hours were fine. And one of the things that they like to do is just pervert every other movement or bad thing that has ever happened in history. And one of our protesters said the N-word multiple times. And I was just like, excuse me, sir.
Yeah.
And then I got out my phone and I was like, do you want to say it again? Because I was like, I'm going to record you and post it since you're so proud of it. And he's like, I'm just quoting history. And I was like, if you knew history, you wouldn't be saying that word. And I never heard him say that word again. So at least something kind of good maybe came from it. But, you know, too, it's like I was sort of mortified, but I was just like, at that point, I just like was burning.
So
And
the
those are
oopsie
the-
is
those are the
you're
kind of
not
things that
supposed
make
to
me-
engage.
Yeah, where you're not supposed to engage. Yeah.
I would have such a hard time not
It is.
saying it. I don't
But
know
just
if I
think
could
of the
do it.
dialogues
So
we have on
hard.
the ride home.
Yeah, we
Just think
do.
of the amazing things we have to
Yeah,
say.
yeah.
Her oopsie is at a higher level. I know I have to own up to something. I had an encounter with one of our major players outside of the clinic. And it was actually, he was at the Detroit Pride Festival. And he was doing his thing at the Detroit Pride Festival because, you know, as we said, he's got a laundry list of,
Yep,
of
they
things.
always do.
And I was with a couple of other people at the clinic and we were teasing him a little bit and we were heckling him a little bit because we were away from the clinic and actually, you know what he said to me? He goes, "Oh, so you can speak."
Oh,
Right. But it was
Oh, wow.
yeah, it was a mistake. And this is something I was kind of new to the business. And I had thought since I was away from the clinic and there was no patients, it was a big crowd, a big festival, everybody was having fun. And he was in a very hostile environment. So
right.
it
It probably felt good to turn
it was, yeah. And it wasn't even that bad, the things I could have said to him, right? The fact that we were teasing him a little bit. So, and then we moved on, but that was a mistake.
And he filmed
I
it.
learned.
He filmed it. He posted it. He recognized them.
Oh,
So
right.
that was the thing. And it's
That
just
was the
like that.
mistake. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Right.
To just, you know, it's like kind of like, you know, when you're, you know, you're always on the job, even though it's not a job because it's volunteer work, to just always kind of keep that.
Right.
you have to be the face wherever you are.
Exactly.
But I learned,
Yeah.
and it didn't happen at the clinic. So, and fortunately, this person is so unpopular, as we say, that nobody watches his views. And when I say nobody, I don't mean anybody important. I mean nobody. So he got 0 views, and that was it, or the 3 views where we were reviewing it. So,
Oh, well, that's good.
right,
Yeah.
yeah. So it didn't go anywhere. So, and that was it. So it is something that you have to fight.
Can either of you speak to, you had already talked about the 12-year-old woman, young girl, let's be honest, she's not even a woman. The 12-year-old girl that you encountered this year, are there other stories that just sit with you that you think about all the time?
I know stories like that. And the one time that I overheard them, you know, just mansplaining the rape story was one of the hard ones for me. Luckily, usually though, we do a pretty good job of ushering them into the building and not letting them talk to the patients and the protesters, keeping them separate. So like they don't often have the chance to hear other people's stories,
Right,
to really
overhear
announce
their-
it
right.
and talk to it.
Good.
So luckily that
Good.
happens so infrequently. And usually once in a while, you know, using the restroom or taking a break, or, you know, somebody's outside just taking a break from being into the clinic, you know, we'll exchange little stories. But usually most of the time then it's like, you know, thank you for being here. You know, this is
Right.
really hard. Your presence meant so much to me. So luckily, usually it's like when we talk to people, it's usually like pretty much an exchange of love.
People come in all different modes, as we were saying. It's generally a very emotional day, and sometimes it isn't. Sometimes people are very comfortable in you know, this is nobody's best situation. This is nobody's best thing. And I do recall one incident. I was talking to a lady who had brought in her daughter, and she was upset, and she was articulating, "This is my daughter's body and this is her choice, but you know, I'm sad about this." And I said, that's fine. I said, this is an emotional day. There's no wrong reaction to this. And you don't need permission to have some ambivalence about this, and to appreciate that this is not this was not the best circumstance, and this is perhaps not, nobody wanted to be in this situation, and you're making the very best of this situation. And so we were talking to her, and I think that it is nice when you can feel like you have that connection with somebody. They get wonderful counseling inside of the building, and that is, we are not the counselors, and we are, but we are the gatekeepers, so we are the first persons that they see. And as Cups was saying, that is just, we just generally provide the most open environment that we can, open and accepting environment. Nobody has to explain themselves. Nobody has to explain their story to us or justify themselves or anything.
That's
like
great.
that. Nobody needs to feel.
Yeah.
It's not our business.
I've had somebody's driver the one time, and it was a friend bringing a friend. And I remember he kept trying to talk to me about how he didn't support it. He had his own kids and he would never do this. And I'm just like, what do you say at this? So I was just like, well, thank you for bringing your friend and being here for her. And I think there was another time, now that I'm thinking it too, that was a harrowing one. There was a woman there that had complications with her pregnancy. She wanted to carry it to term and she couldn't. So seeing her upset, and she screamed back at them and in tears, and that was a hard one. And it was just trying to go over and comfort her, give my apologies for her, but then also just try to get her into her vehicle and go and let her know that it was okay, and to go home and take care of herself and whatever she needed to do to just ignore them, because they were just a bunch of jerks.
Sometimes we have patients or drivers who get what we call salty, and they're this is the first time they've encountered this. This is, as we said, an emotional day, and they're angry, especially men sometimes who decide they want to do something about it. They decide they sure want to engage, and we don't want to put anybody in any danger. We don't want to put the partner or the person that they're with in any danger, because there's always that factor coming up too. So we don't want to make them any angrier, and we don't want to make ourselves angrier. And we spend a lot of time saying, not in this parking lot. Okay. Not here sometimes. Just, I'm going to punch that guy. Okay. I didn't hear that. And if you could just go around the corner and everyone will have a nice day. So we do have to deal with that sometimes.
And before we had our active shooter training and sort of took a step back from having to almost be security too, there were definitely a couple of times I had to break up some things we had. And this was almost kind of heartwarming to me, but two of the patients' rides became buddies in the parking lot.
It's cute.
And they were just ripping on the protesters, and it was hilarious. But I had to go over and be like, I love and appreciate you. You're cracking me up. But I'm like, we just can't have this with having other patients here. And I think it was at one point too, we had to go in and get the patients that they brought to get in and tell them to calm it down. And then I think they went and had lunch together. And there was another times too, speaking of the angry people, we had somebody show up that was hot, and he nearly got in a fist fight with a protester, and we called the police, and the police called up, and it's like, you're protecting him, and pointed to the protester. It's like, we're human. As much as we get yelled at that we're not, it's like, we're human. Yeah, we care about other people, and we care about him not getting his butt whooped in this parking lot.
Yeah,
for sure.
Was there anything that you wanted to get out there to our audience, maybe how they can get involved, anything that you didn't get to talk about that you wanted to say, anything like that?
I think the most important thing to me that I can think of is, especially with the resurgence of the TikTok videos of the clinics that do engage, is to, if you see activity going on a clinic, don't go and counter protest. If you really want to help out, contact the clinic, see if it's something that you would be able to escort and help out there, do donations, anything like getting out promotion for when Prop 3 comes out, any events that we have coming up, fundraisers, types of things like that to do.
Vote yes on proposal 3. Vote for
That's in Michigan. That's in Michigan.
Michigan.
Yes. Yes. Vote for your pro-choice candidates. Stump for your pro-choice candidates. Support your
research
pro-choice.
your ballot.
Correct. Yes.
Get registered.
Is what we would say.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all smart advice. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us about all this, and absolutely thank you for doing the work that you're doing and continuing to help keep the patients safe.
Thank
And
you.
to-
Thank you for reaching out.
Yes,
Thank you
thank you
for
for
allowing
acknowledging.
us to have
Yes.
this time to talk, that acknowledgement, and just the interest, the support, all of the good things.
Well, Jennifer and I definitely support everything that y'all are doing. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
And
Thank you.
thank you for taking the time.
Absolutely.
Bye. It was good to talk
Bye,
with you.
ladies.
So Raquel, I think the thing that came up for me the most is that they're heroes for sure, Midge and Cupcake and all the people that work with them and all the people that work across the country doing the same type of things. Again, hashtag clinic escorts are heroes. I felt such like they're not safe either. People are showing up with stupid
With guns.
guns.
Yeah, they had
Right.
to have active shooter drills. They have to wear GoPros
Yeah.
to
Protect themselves.
document what's happening to protect themselves.
Yeah.
I mean, you're right. They are nothing short of heroes. They are literally, God, and I hate to think about it this way, but they literally are putting themselves in harm's way to help protect
Women.
people trying to get the services that they need, and not just abortion care. It's also, I mean, women going in for breast cancer screenings or for gynecological exams. I mean, these clinics provide so much more health care for women than just abortions or abortion care. I mean, it's everything encompassing reproductive health and healthcare in general. So I have so much heightened respect for them and what they do that I think that's something that I didn't quite expect, because I already have such a great deal of respect for what they're doing. It has gone up exponentially because of this, and because of Midge and Cupcake coming on and talking to us about their experiences.
Yeah. And if any of our viewers think they could get involved to help to do the same kind of thing, but at the very least, register, vote,
Yes,
help keep
please
abortion
vote.
safe and legal.
Please
And
vote, and do your research. If you are undecided, if you aren't sure, do your research. There are websites that provide information about all of the candidates that is unbiased. Look into what the different propositions are on your ballots and find out what they mean. And one thing that I think Cupcake said it, if you see the protesters outside of a clinic, don't go counter protest.
yeah,
As much as you would want to, and I know I would want to, there are better ways to help. Donate your time, donate your money, help talk about events that are going on at the clinics, ways that you can help, ways that other people can help, and vote. Please vote.
better, safer, smarter. Keep yourself safe. Bye, Raquel.
Bye, Jennifer.
Thanks everyone for listening today. We will be back with more Madness Cafe next week. You can find us on Instagram at Madness Cafe Podcast or email us at madnesscafepodcast@gmail.com. Bye.